So one of the most expensive and important parts of your AC unit is your compressor. And maybe in the past you've had an AC tech tell you, hey, your compressor's starting to go bad, it needs to be replaced, but you're not really sure how accurate that is, or maybe your unit's just older or it's making some sounds and showing some symptoms that have you concerned that the compressor could be going bad. So in this video, I'm gonna show you two super easy ways of checking this out. One is by using this clamp multimeter and doing some super easy calculations, and the other, which is way easier, is by using a newer device that's made by Supco that literally tells you exactly what condition your AC compressor is in. I'm going to show you both of those methods. They're super easy, quick, and incredibly accurate. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first thing that should always be done before doing any work on an AC unit, we want to make sure that there's no power going to that unit. So right next to your unit somewhere, there should be some sort of disconnect box. In this case, I've got a pull-out disconnect like so. So now I've got no power going to my AC unit. You might have a circuit breaker. Whatever the case may be, just make sure that you've pulled out any disconnects or turn off any circuit breakers that are supplying power to your AC unit. You want to make sure that it is completely off. And for anybody that doesn't know, the compressor is down inside the condenser. It's that cylinder looking part that's right down there in the middle. So the way that we get to the compressor is I need to take the lid off of my condenser unit here. And I can do that very easily by using this 5/16 nut driver and just going around the entire top of the unit, removing all of the screws that are holding the lid on. And now I can lift the lid off of my condenser unit. The way that you secure your lid is going to be completely dependent on your situation. For me personally, I just use a piece of wood that helps prop it up. All right, so as you can see, this is my compressor here. It's got this rusting going on the top here. Now in some past AC videos, I've had some self-proclaimed HVAC techs tell me that since this is so rusted on top, that means my compressor is going out and I really need to get that checked out. Well, I'm here to tell you that is just simply not the case. This is just exposed to the elements. It's made of steel. Steel rust over time, especially since this gets hot up here on top. The paint degrades, so the metal is more exposed to the elements, and naturally it has surface rust. So that's just an added thing you can look out for in case an AC tech tells you that. That absolutely is not indicative of whether or not your compressor is good or not. But in order to actually test this, we've got these 3 wires coming into our compressor here. So we need to get this cap off that is covering up the terminals to the windings. So the cap just comes off like that. Now I just need to remove my wiring harness to the compressor. And on this wiring harness, it's going to tell us what each one of the terminals is for. And the cap or cover also shows you a lot of times exactly what each terminal is for and what winding it goes to. So again, we got C on tops for common, R for run, and S for start. All right, so as you can see, here are our 3 terminals. And again, this top terminal is for the common. The bottom left terminal goes to the run winding. And then the bottom right terminal over here, that is going to be the terminal for the start winding. All right, so I've got this piece of paper here with just a really rough drawing of the different terminals and what windings they go to. So of course up here where the C is, that's the common, that's the top terminal down there. The R is over here for the run, and the S over here is for the start. And I'm going to take some readings between each of these terminals. I'm going to insert those readings onto this piece of paper, and then I'll show you exactly how we go about figuring out whether or not this compressor is good or bad. So I'll take my clamp multimeter here. I'm going to set it over here to where we're checking for resistance or ohms. And so now I can take my readings. All right, so for this first reading, I'm gonna run from my common terminal, which is the top one. So I'll put an alligator clip on that terminal, and I'm gonna take the other probe and clamp it to the bottom left terminal, which is our run terminal. So as you can see, from the common to the run winding, we're getting 0.8 ohms. So I'll just take my piece of paper here, and from the common to the run, I'll put 0.8. All right, so now I'll leave my one probe on the top terminal, which again is the common. I'll take the one that was on the bottom left run terminal, and I'll move it over here to the bottom right, which is the terminal for the start winding, clamp it onto it. All right, so as you can see, going from the common to the start winding, we're getting 1 ohm. So from common to start, I'll just write 1. So I'm going to have a probe or alligator clip on the bottom right terminal, and then also one on the bottom left terminal. And as you can see, we're getting 1.8 ohms between the run and start windings. All right, so again, between the run and start, we had 1.8 ohms. Now, the way that you figure out whether or not your compressor is good or not is super simple, especially in this case. So what I'll do is I'll take my first reading of 0.8, take my second reading of 1.0, add those together, which is 1.8, and that is the exact reading that we got between the run and the start winding. And that is telling us that there is absolutely nothing wrong with this compressor. It is in very good and working condition and should last for many more years. Another test that can be done and probably should be done in order to just kind of verify even further that there's no issue with the compressor is we want to make sure that there's not a short to ground. Now, if you were to have a short to ground, then more than likely the readings that we took a little bit ago would be way off. However, this is a super easy and fast test to do. And again, it just further verifies that the compressor is in very good condition. So it's just as easy as here on the multimeter, we still got it set over here to test for resistance and continuity. I have now unmuted my multimeter so that when there is continuity, it'll make that beeping noise. And then we're also going to be wanting to pay attention to whether or not this stays on OL or if it starts showing resistance or some ohms on the screen. When doing this test, we do not want there to be any continuity. We don't want there to be any ohms or resistance being shown. We just want it to stay just like this. So in order to do this test, make sure we do not have any continuity or resistance, is I'm going to take one of my probes. You can either put it on one of the refrigerant lines if the top of the compressor is clean enough, which this one is rusted, so I would not use this. But if it was clean enough and there was bare metal, you could use the top of it, or we could actually use the chassis or enclosure of the condenser as well. But I'm just going to use the refrigerant line right here, and then I'm just going to take my other probe. I'm going to test each one of those terminals that we tested earlier and make sure that we do not have any continuity. So as you can see on my common, it's still showing OL. That's good. We're not hearing any beeping noise. Again, if there was going to be continuity, we'd have that noise and we'd have some ohms showing up on the screen. So the common's good. So now I'm going to move down to the run. Nothing there. Move over to the start. And nothing there. So now, in addition to checking all of the windings, we now also know that there is no short to ground whatsoever. And so that is how you check the condition of a compressor using a multimeter. It is incredibly accurate. This is how most of your AC techs are checking your compressor. But if you just want a completely foolproof way where you don't have to do any figuring whatsoever, then instead of using a multimeter like this, you can go and get the Subco M500 megometer. This thing is incredibly accurate. That is not just going to give you some numbers and some readings, but it's actually going to show you exactly what condition your compressor is in, whether it's in bad, caution, or going bad, good, or if these lights go all the way down to the bottom and disappear, it is basically in very good or perfect condition. So not only will this tell you whether or not your compressor is good or bad, it will also show you just how good or bad it is. And what it's doing is it's checking the insulation values on those windings. And so that is why this megometer by Subco is so accurate. So let me just show you really quickly how easy this is to use. All right, so all I need to do is take this first black probe and I need to find it somewhere where I can clip it to that is grounded. So I'm just going to attach it to this bolt that is attached to the chassis of the condenser. All right, so now that I've got that first wire grounded, now I'm just going to take my red wire, so I'm going to be able to check each one of the windings to check them individually to see what condition they're in. So I'm just going to start out by checking the common winding first. So I'm just going to clip it onto that first winding on the top. Now that I've got those two alligator clips connected, now I can run my test. And all I have to do is push this red button and hold it down. If it goes all the way to the bottom and disappears, then the compressor is in perfect condition. But if it comes down, and a lot of times it would come down slowly, then it's going to settle in a position wherever that is and let you know exactly what condition it is in. So I'm going to go ahead, push that button now. And as you see, that light came all the way from the top, all the way down to the bottom, and it disappeared. So on the common side of this, it is in very good condition. So now I'm going to take that red alligator clip, I'm going to move it down to the bottom left terminal, which again is the terminal going to the run winding. And so same thing again, all I have to do is push this red button and get our reading. And as you see, that light started all the way at the top, came all the way down to the bottom, and then disappeared. So our run winding is also in very good condition. So I'm going to move that alligator clip over to the bottom right, which is the terminal for the start winding. And so again, all I need to do is push the red button and see what our reading is. And as you saw, that green light started at the top, went all the way down to the bottom and disappeared again, which means, again, it is in very good condition. So as you can see, this is incredibly easy to use. More and more HVAC techs are using this now just because of how simple it is to use and also how accurate it is. Literally anybody can use this. And as you were able to see, I was very easily able to tell that my compressor is in very good and working condition on every single one of the windings of the compressor. And not only is it good, it was very good, and not showing any signs whatsoever that the compressor is starting to wear down. So Super accurate, awesome tool. Again, I'll have links for this along with the multimeter and all of the other tools that you saw in this video. I'll have links for everything down in the description down below. When you click on those links, it will take you directly to whatever you clicked on so you can check them all out for yourself. So if you ever have an HVAC tech tell you that your compressor is going bad, or maybe you're just curious about the condition of your compressor, well, now you know 2 ways that you can go about checking it very easily if you feel like you have the knowledge and capability of doing so. Not only just to make sure that you're not replacing something that you don't need to, but also for peace of mind and knowing exactly what condition it's actually in. And of course, to get our AC running again, we just need to do everything in the reverse order. We need to reconnect all the wires to the compressor, put the cap in on top of those terminals, lower the lid on the condenser, make sure everything lines up, and reinsert all the screws that hold the lid down onto the condenser, and then reconnect the power and turn on the thermostat, and everything should be up and running again. Now, one thing to quickly note, while this is one of the most expensive parts on an AC unit, oftentimes people are being told that their compressor needs to be replaced before it actually needs to be. So I did a video fairly recently where I go over some of the top scams or the top things that AC companies don't really want you to know about. In that video, not only do I show you the parts on the AC unit that can go bad, but I also show you what to look out for in the event you have an AC tech come out and take a look at it. I also show you how I go about testing them to see for myself if those parts are actually bad and they need to be replaced. And then I also briefly show how they can be replaced by the homeowner, again, if they feel knowledgeable enough and capable of doing the job themselves. So if those are some things that you'd like to learn more about, you can click on this video right over here. When you click on it, it will take you directly to that video. So I hope that you found value in this video, and if you did, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button right down below. And of course, if you have any questions or comments still, you can leave those down in the comment section. And I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.